everyone. Yes, we are back, taking a seat at the table. That's right, broadcasting results with Rouse. And we are here, a special edition, yet episode of season three. And it just gives me great pleasure as individuals see the potential in themselves, but yet want to take a seat at the table to be able to tell their story. That's right, their story. Now, the story could vary, right? You've seen it on the broadcast. We've had from entertainment, we have from nonprofit, we have from whoever. It could definitely be even your personal story. And so the one thing we love about these opportunities, it gives individuals an opportunity to engage with each other. And so tonight, you saw the advertisement. And tonight we're talking about the game, the grind, and the truth. And we have here Mr. Bryant Smith, but you all, that's right, you all know him as Coach Smith, and others call him Coach Smitty. And so we want to welcome you here tonight, seeing fit to want to come and talk a little bit about football, your journey, and what's next for you. And so I want you to start off because obviously, as I know you, many viewers out there may not know Coach Smith or Bryant Smith or Smitty for that matter.
Right.
So if you would just tell the viewers a little bit about yourself.
Yep, Coach Smith, Coach Smitty here. Brian Smith for others. Grew up in Lynn, Massachusetts, and been here in South Carolina now ever since 1996 when I got recruited to play football at the Citadel. And I stayed pretty much ever since then. After I graduated college, went back home for 2 years, taught at the high school, started my coaching journey there at Lynn Classical High School in Lynn, Massachusetts, under one of my former offensive line coaches who was then the head coach at Lynn Classical. So I've been coaching now since 2002, and I'll be going on my 24th season coming up. And, you know, it's a delight. Again, we started our journey in high school at my alma mater, Lynn Classical High School, and then we moved on after that to college and spent 3 years at the Citadel as assistant coach on their staff, and then had an opportunity actually to start a college program at SUNY Maritime in the Bronx for a year. And then I got recruited to come back to South Carolina by one of my former assistant coaches. He's actually a Kingstree native, Ken Callahan. He was at the time was at Lawrence Manning Academy here in Manning, South Carolina. And thankfully he brought me back to South Carolina. And after that, I had a journey where it took me into public school and went to Manning High School for a couple of years under Coach Robbie Briggs, and then became the head coach at C.E. Murray way back in 2012. And 2013 season was our first season there, and had great success at C.E. Murray and carried that forward. We spent a year at Blythewood, a year at Scotts Branch, and then back to C.E. Murray for another stint of 3 more seasons. And then now with the merger, we're now at Kingstree High School.
Listen, you all heard it for yourself. This guy has definitely been around, not just 2-3 years, definitely some decades, 20 plus years in the game. And so that by itself shows the compassion, the drive of who this individual is, yet who you want to continue to be. And so when I talk about the game here, because we got 3 segments here, right? So we're talking about the game, and I've obviously known you, and I just want to say on behalf of me, my family, and I'm hopeful to say to my community, I just remember, I always say the white car when it pulled up, that that vehicle you all carried many student athletes from the Trio, Blakely, Salters area. So I just want to thank you for not seeing a robbery of yourself, for coming into a predominantly Black community to see fit of our athletes. So I just want to thank you, and I'm hopeful to say on behalf of them, yet our community, that you saw fit to come into our communities and identify these young people. My brother being one of them, he definitely, Coach Smith was it. I can remember him and some of his friends stayed many nights at our house, was ready to go to Coach Smith's house, the game, and that just shows you the village that was being built around these young men. And so now, fast forward, I just want to talk a little bit, as we talk about the game, about your latest class. When I say class, you all, I'm talking about the class of football that will be graduating. You have, in these young men that I'm talking about from my community, you have created a pathway for some of them to further their education, not just high school, but in college. And so, can you tell us about the recent graduates that are coming up? Can you tell us a little bit about them?
So we've been very fortunate, and again, our track record of getting guys into college is unrivaled anywhere. Where our stats are right up there with the biggest of big high schools in the state, all the way up to the Dutch Forks and Somerville. We have been fortunate enough to put just as many guys into college, and this year's no different. We got Michael Edwards Wallace going off to play football at Newberry, and he signed a couple weeks ago. And then next week, Shaquan Giles will sign with Limestone University, so he's going to play college football. And we're still waiting on Dontrell Epps to kind of make a decision of which team he kind of wants to go to. He has a couple offers he's decided on. So to put three guys out in this new era of transfer portal, NIL, all that deal, kids staying 8 and 9 years in college.
Right.
Says a lot. It's a lot of hard work. It means also that the community's doing their job, making sure these guys stay on track as well. But it's unparalleled. It shouldn't be taken lightly. It doesn't happen everywhere. I get calls all the time from rival high schools, rival parents. Coach, can you help my son get into school? And that probably might be my next career is helping those other people out permanently. So, but again, it's not something to be taken for granted at all. There's been really no other sports except for a couple track. And again, when I was at C.D. Murray, I put a couple girls into Columbia College to run track as well when I was the track coach at C.D. Murray. So again, that doesn't happen often. But I don't know of any other sport in our community that has really put anybody into college at all. So it's hard. It definitely takes a lot of hard work, but we've always been one who said we want to take away all the excuses. So, like you said, riding, and when guys didn't have rides, Coach Smith stepped up and said, you know what, I'm going to take that excuse away. I'm going to, just like if it was my own child, and I wanted always to treat everyone that way, that I was coaching my own son. So if they don't have a ride, I'm going to ride them. And if they got to go to Tennessee, I'm going to take them. If they got to go to Alabama, I'm going to take them. And I did that. I took Jamiroquai Barr one year. We drove all the way to Auburn, and that helped him get a scholarship all the way out in Kansas to Coffeyville Community College out in Kansas. And again, we have so many stories like that young men that achieved their dreams of playing in college and leaving the state of South Carolina, most of them.
Definitely. And one thing you mentioned, just sitting here, the system is definitely different, you all, or more so, should I say, have changed over the years when we talk about recruitment for players now to be able to leave high school and go into college, because so much, the portal is offering them so much. Like, they're really walking into, really to say, a career right in college. Like, believe it or not, if you all don't know, the background of a lot of the portal now is allowing a lot of kids to get advertisement. You see all these young college students on TVs now with commercials, like they are throwing it at them. But I say that to say it's good when you have a coach that see it. You see the IQ of the game, you also see the potential of the individual, and you want to set them up for success. And so that leads me kind of to a question, like, what have you or your staff, how do you all prioritize when you see the talent, you see the gift of a child, and want to make sure they are being set up for success in regards to recruitment?
Well, it always starts with academics first. So first, you know they have the talent, you see it on the field, or you see it on the court or the track, and you're like, man, I think this kid can really play college sports. And you got to, have some knowledge of talent when you're evaluating them. We got, I'll speak on this later, but there's some big mouths in the county who think they know everything, and they absolutely know nothing. They just run their mouths and they think every kid's talented. That's not the case. And, but the kids who are talented, it always starts with academics. And you have to start there first and make sure they're on the proper path for NCAA eligibility, which a lot of that's going to change here in the next year anyways. As we know, there, like you mentioned, these guys are making high salaries now,
Right.
stepping into college. So a lot of that's changed, but you got to start with the academics first, make sure they're on track to be recruited. And then we go forward from there and setting them up on a path to gain as much exposure as possible. And that's the key is where can they get the most exposure? Nowadays, I tell everybody, you have to get your kid out of state. You can't stay in state anymore. And that's why we've always taken trips, even way back at C. Murray. We took the guys to NC State. We took them to Duke University. We got them out of the state because your in-state schools already know who you are.
Right.
So you want to broaden your spectrum of people who could recruit you. It's best to go out of state when you do that because everybody in state already knows you. And that's important. Last year we took a trip to Tennessee and we went to Carson Newman for 3 days, and then we visited Western Carolina. We visited Wofford University. We visited Furman University. We went to all these different places on the way to them to give them exposure to all different levels, and that's important in getting that exposure.
Thank you for that. Again, you all, we are here broadcasting results with Rouse, and again, we have Coach Smith, Smitty, as you all reshare this live and tag him in it. And come tune in. If you're just hearing that we're live, we are live. So come tune in. If you have questions, we ask that you put it into the comments. And if it's fortunate with time, we'll definitely look at it and answer it if it is appropriate, okay? But nevertheless, you talked about 3 players just now. Is there, just for maybe coaches that out there watching on the college level or just individuals, is there any other particular player that you want to identify that people should kind of keep their eyes on?
Well, we got the valedictorian of King Street High School. I hate to ruin everybody's surprise, but Malcolm Salters will be the valedictorian. He has an opportunity to throw the shot put at South Carolina State, but he's a guy definitely that can play college football somewhere, and he's just kind of waiting for the right opportunity, and he should have that opportunity. Like I said, if not, he can always fall back on throwing the shot put for South Carolina State University, which is a great deal. And again, another relationship. I've known Coach Bone, who's their track and semi strength coach at South Carolina State, all the way back to my time at Manning. We were on staff at Manning together for a year. So that goes all the way back to 2010, my relationship with him. But again, Malcolm Salters, it has everything. He has the entire package where he can definitely play.
And I definitely love Malcolm parents. He had his family, his parents, and just want to shout out to them because I could just remember years ago just coming up through recreation. They've definitely been great support of families that you just see, just there, just supporting their kids. And Malcolm definitely have a gift for many talents. And so I just want to shout out to you, Malcolm, and just say congratulations and keep on keeping on. Again, the game, the grind, and the truth. And you're definitely presenting yourself well with all 3 of them. So we talk about talent. We talk about players that are obviously already seeking offers or would commit to an offer. How do you see these players, fitting into the system and making a true impact on the field?
Right. Well, again, it's all about what you put into them is what you're going to get out. So again, we treat them like our own sons. We're very truthful with them every day. We instill in them hard work. We instill in them, again, academics is always first. That you really can't go any further unless you got that piece behind you. And we let them know that we truly care about them and we'll do anything for them as long as they're on that right path. And they rise to the occasion always. And, they'll definitely meet your expectations. And, we talk about expectations a little later, but, again, not to harp on Malcolm, but Malcolm's a prime example. He's been with me since the 7th grade. So since the 7th grade all the way forward, he's listened to everything we've told him, and his parents have done, like you said, a phenomenal job. Where again, he's how many football players have been valedictorian of a school? Not many, and that's something that's huge that speaks volumes, and we're proud of that. That again, we got the valedictorian last year. We had the salutatorian, Emmanuel McBride. played for us for 4 years again. And it says a lot. That means you're doing things the right way when you got guys like that representing your program.
So I definitely want you to share this to maybe some young athletes that are out there listening. Take heed to some of these players like Malcolm and Gals, Epps, Wallace. These guys has been putting in the work, and just want to be quite frank. Thank you to their parents, because it takes support for these athletes to get out there and really, really do their thing. But it took take the support of people that are really pushing them so that they could see their impact on the field. But I think oftentimes we miss a piece when we talk about athletes, the academics, because the recruitment is very competitive, right?
Very.
And so I want you to, if you would, just share some insight in regards to those athletes, or maybe middle school, maybe even recreation, that would eventually get to that high school point. Like, what would you, tell them in regards to this recruitment and how they should really, really grind?
Right. Well, a major thing that happens to a lot of our young people, especially, is they treat ninth grade like middle school and waste their entire ninth grade year, and they're so far behind the rest of the world.
Right.
Because recruitment now is global. They're not just recruiting guys here in South Carolina. They're recruiting guys all over the United States and
Absolutely.
all over the world.
Okay.
They're bringing in football players from Germany, Australia, you name it.
Yeah.
So you're in competition with everybody in the world for a limited amount of scholarships. Only less than 2% of all kids that play high school football will get a scholarship. And that's nationwide. So you're talking, on average, most schools, like I said, don't put anybody in the college. That's it's not normal what we do.
Right.
So, and that's what a lot of, again, people that were against me or what have you, or had an agenda against me, that's what they get wrong. They don't realize what we did was absolutely special. And it's something to brag about, be proud about, because there's several schools that put zero out every year. And there's several programs at our own school that put zero out every year and have never put anybody out. And so, again, for those younger people, you got to realize the second you step into ninth grade, it counts. And you got to make it count. And you got to treat that like you're a senior and you're trying to get that scholarship, so you don't ruin your chances before you get started.
There you go. So I mentioned the grind. I just want to move right into that segment. Because you definitely been grinding. Like I say, it's been 20 plus years, and I always go back to that particular day whenever I pulled into the yard of my parents' home and wanted to see fit to see my brother Tyler as a talent to be a part of the football team. But what I also loved about that moment was you didn't just see him as a football player, because you realize, hey, Tyler may not have everything, but he has something to get the rest of the players there, right? And so that makes a difference when we talk about players that may not be to the T as aggressive on the field or the court, but you see them as someone that can keep that team as a glue. And that's where I want to go to when we talk about the grind, because you have been the glue. You've been grinding for 20 plus years. And so I have to ask, everybody who's viewing pretty much already kind of know what it is, right? With regards to you and your state of your career. And so I guess I'm here to ask too, where do you stand today in regards to your current status?
Well, unfortunately, there is no current status. They sent me a letter over a week ago, basically stating that they wanted to meet about expectations again, and I'm done with expectations. So anybody out there, I'm done with expectations. There is no expectations. I'm not meeting with no one about expectations. My lawyer sent a letter right back to him. We're not meeting about expectations at all. And we made that clear from the start that, they were made up expectations in the first place. It was an agenda against me by several people. And we'll talk about those people here tonight, but there is no expectations. We're not meeting any expectations. We're not going under any of the current leadership that's there. They're not good people. They don't have the kids' best interest in mind, and they should be replaced, plain and simple. So until they're replaced, there is no Coach Smith.
Yes, sir.
And that's kind of where we're standing. And you can call it standing on business, but we're standing for the kids in the community who spoke out so much
Right.
and said, no, this ain't going down this way. This is what we want. We want Coach Smith, period. And if you can't get out of his way, then you need to leave. And that's kind of where we're at. We're waiting for people to leave. If they're not leaving, then we're leaving.
So this leads right in, it's been a lot of rumors in regards to your career, in regards to your future. Do you care to clear up any of those rumors?
Well, again, like I said, we will not be back if the current leadership is still in place, if they're still demanding that we meet some false expectations of their crazy minds. So there will be no Coach Smith. I mean, it's as simple as that. I've got plenty of offers elsewhere to go pretty much to everybody in the area and outside of the area. So we'll take one of those offers that's best for the family and move on.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you being willing to address that here because everybody's pretty much viewing and or will have an opportunity to go back and watch this live. But I ask that you again, if you just tuning in broadcasting results with Rouse, you all, we're here sitting with the very and only Brian Smith, Coach Smith, yet some of you all call him Coach Smitty. So if you would reshare this live and tag him to it. So again, we're still talking about the grind. He just pretty much allow you all to kind of know about the rumors in regards to where he stands with his career. And he mentioned something, standing on business. And when we talk about coaching is business. It's a lot that comes with it that some of us, I would always say, you're either on the sideline or you're in the game. And sometimes people don't quite understand that. Like the sidelines tend to have everything the same, right? But until you're actually in that seat, and when I say in it, like in it and truly know it, everybody's mindset is definitely different. But again, you heard it from him himself. Expectations, he's not addressing that. His attorney has done their rightful duties by sending whatever documents. And so he's here to pretty much move on. It doesn't surprise me that he would have many offers that he could go and get into it. But I want to kind of segue to this past year, Coach Smith. Someone that's been in the game for 20 plus years, and just to have this upon you, I could just only imagine. Just speaking from experience, that's a lot to come by surprise and hear this is being thrown at you, and you're looking like, whoa,
right?
Where does that come from? So, what has this past year taught you about leadership and resilience?
Well, it taught you, no matter what, again, those are your kids on the field, so you need to carry out your job with them, block out the outside noise, and do your best by them. And if you do your best by them, then everything will take care of itself. And we saw that, and that's why the community was so outspoken. That's why they created all these petitions. That's why they spoke up so highly, was because they knew Coach Smith did his job.
Yes, sir.
And that, there's no one that can say that didn't happen day in and day out. And again, proof's in the pudding. We send in, at least 2 guys for sure we know going off to college, and probably a third out of a very small senior class.
Yes, sir.
And again, there's not many people in the state that can say that. So our facts speak for themselves.
Yes, sir. So I know you mentioned earlier that obviously you have some offers in the area, outside of the area, but do you care to give a roundabout of what may be potentially next for you?
Well, it could be anything from being a principal to, again, carrying out coaching somewhere else.
Yes, sir. Yes,
so,
sir. Well, we definitely look forward to continuing to network with you, continue to see where your future carries you. And that this shares light that obviously you are seeking, or I should say exploring other opportunities. So, like you say, the proof is in the pudding, but we see what it is. We see the grind, we saw the game, and I guess I have to ask, through all of that what is considered a challenge and something that you would eventually bounce back from, but how do you stay, like, through all of that? How do you truly stay, like, motivated, right? Because, we got to see, a lot of us have been thrown what I would say fire or got burned.
Right.
But how do you stay motivated and keep pushing back despite of it all?
Well, again, it goes back to the kids and the community, the parents, all, again, fighting for you, letting you know how good of a job you've done. And that motivated me because I knew since last May, this wasn't a secret except for to those individuals who thought they were keeping it a secret.
Mm.
Again, this was not a secret. Last May, they put this plan into place. The superintendent, Dr. Wims, told the principal, Mr. Frazier, and Coach Price, the AD, to have a meeting with me about expectations. That was last May, because they wanted to put it in place where they could fire me. I got word of that from a very close person in that district office who heard every meeting they've ever had.
Mm.
So for all you guys out there, I know every word that was said in every meeting. And I'll take that to court if I have to. But so they put this fake expectations into play, but they didn't know, I already knew that meeting was coming.
Right.
So I dictated the whole meeting to them. And we actually ended up leaving the meeting, getting lockers out of it, which we didn't even have lockers. I don't think the public knew that. We didn't have lockers for 2 whole years during the merge until this past year. But I dictated that meeting. I knew they were trying to pin expectations on me. I didn't let them do it. That's why they have no proof of any expectations, because I didn't let them put the expectations on me in the meeting. Because I knew that's what that meeting was about. I got a call before the meeting. I went into the meeting. I was prepared. I knew what was coming. I knew they were trying to pin me down on some fake expectations of, you got to win a championship and all this nonsense. And I immediately fought back and said, whoa, hold on. We didn't even have a rec program a year ago, and we got 2 disastrous middle school programs right now. So, we got to slow things down and try to build those up first before you get to the varsity level and all that. And anyway, so we fast forwarded through the season. We started out slow, which I expected. We had 2 brand new quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. We were breaking in a new offense. We were playing one of the toughest preseason schedules, and I do that every year on purpose to prepare our guys for region play. And we started out not winning any of the first 4 games, but I said, they're going to get more experience. They're going to get more experience. We're going to get better and better as the season went on. Sure enough, we get a winning region record. We finished 3rd in the region, but what people got to realize is we were 1 play away from winning the region. Mm-hmm. Manning completed a 4th and 15 miraculous catch to continue their drive and beat us on a last-second touchdown, or else if we win that game, we're the region champs. Right. And there's only been one other time that King Street has ever won the region, and obviously Steve Murray didn't have it, but 1 region championship until I got there. And we won 4 when I was there. So, we were very close this year. That's what a lot, was the shocking part of all of it was we were one play away from being region champs this year. Then we went to East Clarendon the next week after that tough loss. We didn't have our quarterback that game. He was suspended for a mistake he made. And we lose that game by 1 touchdown. Heck, we lost to Georgetown at the first game of the year by 1 point. But then we go to the playoffs. We win the first playoff game. Second playoff game, again, we're beating Philip Simmons, who has every resource in the world. Got a great program, and we're beating them at the half, and then we kind of fell apart in the second half. But it was a great season for those kids. And if we're looking at just the male sports since the merger, we're the most successful male program they got. There is no other one. Basketball's been through 3 coaches in 3 years. They've never won a playoff game. This year they didn't even make the playoffs, and it's not the coach's fault. It's just, again, we've had a lot of issues as we know, in Williamsburg County that has caused sports to kind of decline. We've lost massive amounts of population the past 10 years in our county. You don't lose that type of population and not lose talent. But again, there's a lot of big mouths who out there who think everything's back in 1990 and everything's still 1990.
Yeah.
They don't realize we've lost so much population in Williamsburg County. They don't realize that other counties have upped their game. Like I said, Philip Simmons wasn't even a high school 10 years ago. That's the old Can Hoy. They built a new high school.
Right.
And again, they have every resource in the world. They pay their teachers way more than we pay ours. They got a full staff of coaches. They got hundreds of kids. As we know, Charleston's busting out of the seams. And it makes a difference when you have everything in the world. And it doesn't mean our kids can't get it done, but we're definitely way behind.
Yes,
and people got to understand that too, that you want to win every game, and I do too. I'm one of the biggest competitors out there, and I've won championships, and I want to win a championship again, but there's certain things that have to take place first in order for that to happen.
Definitely.
And like I said, so we're the most successful male program at the school, so it didn't make sense when you're bringing me in for a meeting, which it did make sense because I already knew it was happening, but it doesn't make sense that you bring me in when you didn't bring any of the other coaches in. Baseball didn't even win a game the year before. They didn't get brought in. And that has nothing to do with the individual coaches. It's just, again, it's a tough place to coach right now for anybody. And there's coaches who know that. Heck, me and the athletic director, Coach Price, had a conversation about basketball before basketball even started. They were still practicing, and their conversation was, man, they're going to have a rough year. And sure enough, they had a rough year because, again, it has nothing to do with the coach. It had nothing to do with the coach this year for basketball. So all those big mouths blaming the basketball coach this year, they don't need to blame him. They got to start helping out in the community. We got to get the rec straight. We got to get middle school straight. There's a lot of stuff to get straight before you can start harping on some varsity coach about what he should be doing in game to help him win a game. And again, you got to realize that a lot of stuff has changed all around us. I mean, Atlantic Collegiates in our conference, they're playing for the state championship in basketball. And every one of their guys is 6'7", and our guys are all 5'6". There ain't too many coaches you can get that can outcoach a team that has that type of height advantage over you. So that part made no sense to me. But again, it was all an agenda to get rid of me, to place their friend in who they wanted. That's all it was. And it had nothing to do with wins and losses. It had nothing to do with Coach Smith's not doing the right thing. It was, and I got to hark back to the video that Mr. McKnight made, which he didn't know me. He didn't have to make that video. But that video was the dead truth. Like, you just wanted to help one of your buddies out, and you didn't care if you hurt the kids or not.
So I definitely say, again, you're just tuning in again. Tune in, reshare the live, tag Coach Smith in it. And definitely want to go back that we sometimes make decisions and don't realize the effect that it does to the community, yet to our young people who we tend to say is our future. We want their best interest. Like, we get out to the public and put on a good face, real nice face, right? Tell the public all this stuff, and then behind closed doors, we're sitting here taking our kids like they're pawns.
Right.
And I definitely don't think that's fair. You know, our kids is our future, and I feel like we should have the best interest for them at all times.
Correct.
And so when I think about just listening at your story, and I was going to ask you to take us back from the start, but obviously you kind of mentioned you got kind of wind of it and had the conversation. We're talking about expectations and, you know, how all of that is very much being played out. But, you know, what has been like the toughest part about going through this period?
Toughest part is, like I said, knowing the kids, the parents, communities behind you, and you can't do anything to help them. Because again, we got people in place who you can't trust, period. Like, I'll never trust any of them again because they've lied consistently. They even lied saying they didn't fire me when I have the firing letter. I have it. I have it. Dated January 9th. You are no longer the head coach at King Street Football. Per our meeting. Per our meeting. What we discussed in our meeting. You're no longer the head of King Street Football. And then they went back and told the Post and Courier, oh no, we never fired him. So why, my question is, why would you trust those people ever again? You can't. I'm a loyal guy. I believe in loyalty. And again, no, that's not going to happen. So you can't trust any of the leadership. A lot of the stuff they do is for show. A lot of the stuff is complete lies. And unfortunately, our kids suffer, the community suffers, and there's just no other way around it. But that hurt the most was knowing that the community, I mean, we had the board meeting where 3 class presidents all stood up and said how much of an impact Coach Smith made on their careers. Absolutely. And one of them was the best girls basketball player at the school. And one of the best in the entire state. And for her to do that, I mean, I didn't tell any of them to do that. They did all that on their own. So that touched my heart where I was like, man, I got to at least put some effort into trying to come back. But again, that can't happen if the same people who hurt you are still in place, still carrying out harm to the community and district, and they're not willing to relinquish any power. Yeah. So they're definitely not going to be in charge of Coach Smith.
So I'm sitting here, and I definitely want to do a slip back to something you mentioned in regards to, how this has definitely impacted you. It's definitely hard, tough, just hearing about it. And I'll say, whoever would have came, let's just be quite frank, great. We hope that they would put the best interest to our kids. But I think for me and maybe many others, it was more so the principle. You're talking about the impact that you had on young people that played sports or didn't play sport, but just saw fit to see that this is an individual that made a difference in their lives. And so when we go and watch the scene of the school board meeting, I commend those three young, under 18 individuals that stood up. Those students didn't know what they were going to be up against. They didn't know what the retaliation was going to be after the fact. But I commend all 3 of them for having the courage, the confidence, and the their families, yet their class. And so that's going to go a long way for all 3 of you all. And I just want to say thank you all again for that. And then, like you said, you had an athlete in the midst of that. That young lady could have been home, right, still in the gym, but she saw fit to say, hold on, I want to at least be able to say something on behalf of Coach Smith. And so I just want to say kudos to all 3 of you all, to your families, to your friends, those that supported you all, that stand with you. Also to all of the others that decided to show up to the school board meeting. And I know there was some workers out there like, hey, all this talk on Facebook, but nobody's at the school board meeting. Nevertheless, we thank the ones that came. That's just what it is. And we're here talking about now the truth. We talked about the game, we talked about the grind, and I mean, you're hearing it from Coach Smith himself as he kind of talks about taking us back, kind of like where this all started from to where we are now. And it's tough. The one thing, something you said, I'll say again, even for myself, like I'm gonna stand on business, right? Yeah. And loyalty is it. That could be defined whether that's family, friends, or everybody in between. But you got to learn how to remain silent. You see people often all the time switching lanes, going back and forth with depending on what topic it is or who it is. That's where we at. And you got to make sure that those things are the best interest for everybody, not what feels good right now, not who's throwing you a couple of dollars just to go with it and go along with it. We ain't being loyal to ourselves. We being loyal for the moment. And these are moments like these when we face it in such small rural community and we see fit to handle things like this. Yet we're using our young people to be the pawn of. These are our future. We cannot continue to say we want to be in leadership. That's whether you principal, superintendent, whether you in politics. We can't do that to our young people. We can't. We shouldn't even do that to ourselves. And so I'm just encouraging us all to kind of reevaluate where we stand when we talk about truly, and I'm talking about truly wanting to make a difference. And that's all of us. That's Coach Smith, even myself, and everybody that's listening. Like, we got to really see what benefits. Not so much behind closed doors. I get not everybody's going to come to the front. Not everybody's one of those ones that going to stand up and talk. But pick the side, not switching lanes, going back and forth, but truly be committed to who you are, number one, because that's what's going to stand at the end of the day, your loyalty to yourselves. And so I want to kind of move into, that moment when you were blindsided, hearing about what's going to happen. Expectations. Raise the flag, right? You kind of mentioned, like, no other coaches was called in.
Right.
So you kind of question, like, where was this going? Was it truly an agenda? Why wasn't all of the coaches evaluated? And again, there's some great people out there that are helping support the initiatives of the different programs at the school. And I applaud all of you all, but we have to look at the bigger picture, because today is his day and tomorrow may be yours.
Yeah.
And so we definitely want to make sure that we are kind of seeing fit. I have to continue to say the best interest of everything. And so I want to move into, like, how have you or did you navigate through all of this when we talk about the players, the coaches that you have on your staff, and even your family?
Well, good thing is, again, I made sure to isolate the players from it. I never told them, never gave any indication to them that something was wrong.
Mhm.
Although Coach Cedric Bennett, he knew from the start it was wrong. As a matter of fact, our last playoff game, he even mentioned something to three of our other coaches, including the athletic director, Coach Price, and said, "It's messed up what y'all are going to do to Smitty. Nice coaching with you guys." And of course, they kind of, no, we haven't heard that. That rumor ain't true.
Here's the truth.
But the truth was, we already knew. We weren't telling them something we didn't know. Yeah. And Coach Bennett did that on his own to let them know, kind of, hey, we know what's coming. Yeah. Like, you ain't fooling us. Like, we knew it was coming. And so that was important. Like I said, I had him to lean on, and he's always been there all the way back with me. So, right. Again, Coach Bennett knew the whole time, and he kept it a secret, too, of exactly what we knew. Right. But what they didn't realize is I had already contacted several community members way back in September and let them know this was going to come about. Mm-hmm. Matter of fact, Reverend Alfred Darby, school board member as well, I told him back in September, look, this is the deal. They're going to try to replace me at the end of the season. Mm-hmm. They were trying to do it before the season. They got kind of on the back burner. They're trying to do it at the end of the season. And he said, his exact words were, "Coach, they're not that stupid. I don't think they're that stupid to do that." And I said, well, just be mindful. When they do it, be ready. Right. Those are my exact words to the Reverend Alfred Darby back in September. Be mindful, be ready when they do it. Mm-hmm. So he knew their plan as well. And he'll vouch for that to this day. Several other community members will vouch for it to this day, that this plan had been in place the whole time, that they were going to replace me and put someone else as head coach and bring in someone else to be under him and all that nonsense. And so, again, we isolated the kids, didn't let them know anything was wrong, went about our business coaching them, because, again, my job is to them. It's not to the school board. It's not to the principal. It's not to the superintendent. My job is to make sure the kids are getting what they deserve. Absolutely. And we did that. You know, our job was fulfilled, and we did it to the best of our abilities. And those kids were better because of it. And the proof is in the pudding when they all show up for you and say, no, we don't want Coach Smith to go.
Yeah.
So that says it all. Like,
Absolutely.
they had no part of that. And like I said, I wish it was different. I wish things would have been handled differently.
Absolutely.
I wish the State Department had more say. I wish someone else had more say where they could, kind of make these kids' dreams and wishes come true. Where I was able to stay.
I definitely want to go back just a little bit, because I'm sitting here thinking how tough that could have been for you. But I also remember when you came to see Murray, and Coach Bennett was right there with you, and to see him still with you today makes a big difference. And I just want to say to him, thank you for your efforts over the years, standing with Coach Smith, but yet the impact you've made for the players over the years. Because again, that makes a difference. But that share light, like you say, when you're going through some of these toughest moments, to be able to have someone stand with you, yet for you, because they see the value.
Right.
They don't take it for themselves, but they also see the value in you. But the biggest part comes of that because they see the compassion of the students. And as you just mentioned, I was sitting here thinking, like, how could this be different? How could we do different? How could we present something that works for the betterment of our students, not so much of the system? And when I say the system, not you personally, your agenda, I'm talking about the best interests of the students. We talk all the time about academics and the kids and their works and the parents not being involved and all of these things, but we don't realize sometimes when we throw a wrench, that kills the morale of everything. I mean, everything across the board. And so, again, expectations. We still find ourselves questioning, what is it?
Right.
I say, we look at systems or environments of work, whether that's the school system or the government system or the private or public sectors, and you have people on jobs because they need a paycheck, but they see wrong, but don't want to do right because of the retaliation. You see teachers all the time move in from all over the world and want to be a part of education, but again, they see the wrong. They either being hushed up because they made a mistake years ago, centuries ago,
Right.
but so and so is got you off of that, so you can't say nothing because you owe them.
Yeah.
And then you have our students, but I still go back to the three kids that for me would always be history. That saw fit to stand up in that auditorium that night to talk on behalf of Coach Smith and what they felt like impacted them. Because that speaks volume. And so again, when we juggle all of these things from not truly being able to speak out without feeling like who's going to come up against me, it also reminded me when I got a message just to say how they felt like things could have been different for even my experience. But, we look at those moments and it could be tough for us. We could be experiencing a lot of things people don't really understand. But by the grace of God, we still stand strong. And I just commend you for your efforts, for your courage, for your confidence to still be able to stand and want to stand. I'm sure if your heart could truly talk and really say what it is, you would want to stay right here with your students because you built and you want to continue to build. But I guess through all of this, like, what has been some of your biggest lessons that you've taken away from this experience?
Well, again, I always love Williamsburg County and the students and the community. I've always been a member of the community, from going to Rib Fest to Stag Fest to you name it, pig picking to you name it, and always giving back to the community, whether it's hosting a youth clinic, whether it's going to the Hemingway YMCA with a guy, Coach Breland, where he was hosting a youth clinic out in Hemingway. I don't have anything to do with Hemingway, but still would go out there and give my time up for those kids. And that's the thing you want to take away is that no matter what, you only got one name. I only have one name, Brian Patrick Smith. That's it. I was born with that name. I'm dying with that name. I'm going to make sure my name is solid. I'm going to make sure when someone hears that name, they say, yep, Coach Smith, he's about the truth.
Yeah.
Coach Smith, he was about the kids.
Yeah.
Coach Smith, he's always been there for us. Coach Smith never let us down. Coach Smith, is a role model. And that's huge because we want to, a lot of times, put people on pedestals that don't belong there.
Absolutely.
That shouldn't be role models and shouldn't be leading anyone. And that's a problem. But I don't want anybody to ever be able to say Coach Smith shouldn't be a role model. Because I've always held myself to a standard for these kids to look up to where, again, I want them to know that I treat them just like I treat my son.
Right.
So I'm going to do everything possible for them. And that's important. So that's what I take away for it. And even if I leave, I'll still do anything possible within my power to help a kid that reaches out.
Yes.
And no matter what nonsense, foolishness, craziness that went on, I'm still Brian Smith who's going to help anybody that needs help.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. So again, you all, we are here broadcasting results with Rouse, taking a seat at the table with Coach Smith, Coach Patrick, Brian Patrick Smith himself, but you all also call him Coach Smitty. And again, these opportunities provides truth. We talked about the game, we talked about the grind, and we are here talking about the truth. And when I say the truth, just to clear, because I know sometimes we sit and watch and think, oh, what is all this going on? I'm talking about the truth from the heart. This is an individual that put out 20 plus years to the community outside of his family. He saw fit to want to definitely give back. He has been giving back and will continue to give back. I know definitely he would. And just as he mentioned, if there's any players, if this journey being currently in King Street is not the next, his journey will not stop. I know it won't, just know who he is. It won't stop for giving back or yet helping another student athlete. So I can truly stand on what he just mentioned. If you need him, you can get Coach Smith, that's for sure. I want to check just to see if there's any questions that anybody may have out there, any thoughts that anybody may have that just want to share to Coach Smith. So I'll definitely say there are some people out there watching, and I'm sure there will be others that will go back to watch. But we have one here that says, thank you, Coach Smith, for always doing right for our kids. You've truly been a blessing to our community. Others just have said, thank you so much. And Coach Smith, we love you. And just want to say thank you all for viewing, those that have commented. But if you have questions, you all please drop them here in the comments. And again, we'll definitely get to them as we see fit. But Coach Smith, is there anything else you want to share? Anything else you feel like you want to clear up? Please feel free.
Right. That's it. Again, we're still doing our job, still helping out the next year's class. We had several guys a week ago get invited to the Carolina Coaches Combine. We had 7 guys nominated for that. Of course, over a month ago, we had our freshman quarterback who was up for Freshman of the Year in the state of South Carolina. Okay. And again, that's a first in this county. That's never been done before, and that was by Sports Illustrated. Mm-hmm. So he finished second in that. And that's Makai Shaw. That's a huge honor to be second in the entire state in your class, where you're getting recognition from so many publications as being one of the top players in the entire state. That's with all the Dutch Forks of the world, Somervilles of the world. He was the number 2 player in the state for his class. So for all the big mouths out there, you've never had a number 2 player in the state. You've never had a guy make the pros. You've never had many things. So keep running your mouths, and we'll keep proving you wrong. But again, we've had several guys recently. Tyleek Dukes, another one who is close to getting an offer from several schools, including the Air Force Academy, who's been on the phone with him all week. and that's huge. He's going to be a Division I scholarship type guy for sure. So we're already working on that next group of guys. We got several guys that are going to visit the University of West Georgia coming up. Bryson Epps, BJ Washington, and Romello McFadden are all invited to the University of West Georgia. So that's important. Again, where these kids are getting exposure that doesn't happen everywhere. And we're still doing our job, even though we don't technically have a job. But and like I said, it's definitely looking like we'll be elsewhere, unfortunately. But that doesn't change who I am or stop what we're trying to do, which is, again, we'll help any young person that needs the help, and we'll treat them like they're our own son, our own family member. That's what we've always done, and so we're going to continue that good work that God put us on, and keep praising Him, because again, God is great. He's the reason we're here. This is the reason we do what we do, and evil doesn't stop that, no matter where it is. And evil will never take down Coach Smith. It will never change Coach Smith's mind, no matter how evil you are. So those people who are evil out there, just realize you haven't faced Coach Smith one bit.
Yes, sir. I definitely want to go back to two players you just highlighted. One started with Mekhi Shaw, very talented kid. I just remember him from the community growing up, and I just appreciate the drive that his family continues to give him. Yet the highlight of his father, he experienced, obviously, which is this public mentioning it, his mother passing away, but he never stopped his grind.
Right.
I feel like that was also part of his motivation, but just want to give kudos to him, because like you say, that's one of those accomplishments at such young age that many people don't get to experience. So definitely want to thank his father for the support that he's giving him as a parent, but yet to the program. And I know he would definitely continue to be behind Mekhi, yet his other relatives as well. And to the Duke kid, very talented. That those group of guys, because there's a brother,
yes,
they are definitely talented, and that setting reminds me, just as you mentioned early on, about Salters.
Yes,
definitely having parents that truly see the passion of academics, number one, but they identify the talent in the kid, and they're supporting them, but yet making sure, hey, classroom, let's get that so that we can ride on the field as well. So there you go, you all, with two talented athletes that's coming up. Whether Coach Smith is in place to continue to coach them to their next level or not, I'm sure he would definitely be in contact with the parents to see what else he could continue to do to make sure they continue on their right path. Again, I thank you all for tuning in. I'm sitting here to think. You're right. I see a comment said, whoever comes next have a big shoe to fill. They definitely do, because there'll never be another Coach Smith for sure. Keep doing what you're doing, Coach Smith. Thanks for being a true role model. So you all come on in again as we lead to Coach Smith's final words before we close out. I definitely want to give you, the viewers, an opportunity. If you have questions, and or comments, please put them here. But I definitely want to share light into us as a community, yet rural community. Given up where you grew up from, you could very well say it was pretty rural, somewhat as well. But I definitely want us moving forward, and I'm talking from the pastors to come from behind the pulpits to get into our communities to really show our young people the love that they need. I'm talking about community leaders, not just showing up for the handshakes and the picture times, but truly out there to show the support of our kids to our community members, whether we're parents, teachers in school. We gotta come from behind that wall that allow us to be screened from one side to the next because of we're trying to save face, or because of what someone did from us back then. We feel like we owe them. I feel like it was sincere, a genuine, your loyalty should stand on business, as Coach Smith mentioned earlier, and be loyal to the situation, be loyal to what we know is going to benefit our community. And so I'm urging yet encouraging from pastors, community leaders, um, politicians that's out there, our school system, our board members. We got to realize some things. I think for far too long we've been doing the same thing. As I used to like to say, from a political realm, we've been doing the same thing, expecting different results, and we've been getting the same thing because of the same thing that we've been doing. And so this is a tough experience to yet go through. I know deep down in your heart, this is a major transition to have to move forward and start over. Not start over the football, but just to start over something that you were trying to build. But I guess I would have to say in the final words, what message that you would like to leave to first the people that has truly stand true to Coach Smith. What message that you would want to leave to the members of the community, pastors, school board members, principals, just everyone's out there. And again, when I say this, I'm not talking particularly where we are in regards to Williamsburg County, but the message to the people. So that when we realize when a Coach Smith takes his next journey, we want to make sure that we are not harboring yet repeating the same thing. So I want you to take a moment just to take it all in and kind of give us your final words in regards to what you want the people to truly know.
Well, like I said, Williamsburg County, I appreciate the community to the bottom of my heart, especially all of you who raised your voices and so much support of me these last couple months and throughout my whole career in Williamsburg County. Like I said, dating all the way back to 2012, we've been on a great journey, and I truly love you from the bottom of my heart. And I'll say this: demand more of your officials, demand more of the leadership, demand more of everybody in the county, because like I mentioned before, the population decline is for a reason. People aren't just leaving because they're leaving.
Right.
The facilities are way beyond substandard, and it has nothing to do with not having money. The district has been given plenty of money throughout the years. We're the only district in the state that still has no athletic track. Nowhere in the county to be found do they have a track. That's embarrassing. That shouldn't happen. We got to demand better. And so I'll say definitely demand more out of your people. Demand more out of the elected officials. Baseball, softball, same thing. They're playing at the county rec. That's embarrassing. Like, how long will the embarrassment last? And it's been that way now since 2012. I came in 2012. And when I was at C. Murray, we had to play all our games away. Every baseball, softball game away. They didn't have a baseball, softball field. They still don't. We're in 2025. They still don't have a field, which is embarrassing. And every other county in the state has it. And they're poor too, because the whole state of South Carolina is poor. So we can't blame it on being poor.
Right.
We got to blame it on, again, holding people accountable, doing the right things, making sure the people you have in charge know what they're doing. And don't fall for fake announcements. Don't fall for fake initiatives. Because there's a lot of them out there. So make sure you do your research when they get on the podium and they announce these fake initiatives, they announce these fake programs, they announce these old programs and try to sell them as something new. Like a couple of weeks ago, I heard a bunch of people praising a program that's been around forever. And that program ain't going to help the county move forward, I promise you. So please hold people accountable, demand better, because you should have a track, you should have a baseball field, you should have a softball field, you should have all those things that every other district in the state has. And until people bound together and they start demanding and they start holding people accountable, hopefully it doesn't take another 15 years before that happens.
Right.
That's not good for our future generations. You're going to see more and more people leave the county, and the sad thing is you ain't got much time because our state is fixing to pass school choice.
Mm-hmm.
That's gonna pass whether we like it or not. It's already passed through the House. It's now back in the Senate again, and it's gonna pass. They already told you it's gonna pass.
Yeah.
But you can't cry over spilt milk, as I've always been told. You got to do something to fix your current situation. So be ready for it. It's coming. And like I said, I'll always be there to help anybody who needs help. And I'm not but a stone's throw away. But I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart. I appreciate everybody that, again, spoke out in this situation. And I ask you now to focus your efforts on demanding better from everybody. And please make it your mission to make it a better place.
Again, you all, we are here broadcasting Results with Rouse, and we had the pleasure, that's right, the pleasure to take a seat at the table with Coach Brian Patrick. Smitty. One that's been in the game for 20 plus years, you all. I mean, we sat here and talk about the game itself, the grind that he had over the year, but he wanted to also talk a little bit about the truth. As he parted ways from what he may have currently been doing, we definitely want to say thank you again for your hard work, for your efforts that you've given the community over the years. And I know that this is not the end of it. But I encourage our players to definitely don't lose sight of what being presented to you. You have a great future, especially some of the names that you mentioned. And so we just want you to continue to stay on the up and up, stay grinding, just as his theme is, the game. Stay in the game, continue to grind, and always remember your truth, that you have the gift to continue to take it to the next level. Until next time, you all, continue to broadcast Results with Rouse. If you want to have your chance at the table, contact us. We have you next.